Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show my people. Believe our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's all we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will happen like dark blue skies. I love it make people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Get up, make every day count. Don't waste it, people. Do your part, play a role, get where you need to. You can tune in from work or in your vehicle. If you got a problem, pick up the phone. Why wait till the time calling? It's a show with no matter even if you're at home. Just call in, WB. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB. Be yourself, see yourself, this is a show my people. Believe our hopes are to needless reason. Nobody feel left out, is the vibe we dealing. Let's find a solution, yeah, yeah, yeah. Love, respect, unselfishness and cooperation. That's how we need to build a strong nation. We are the people to make the changes. We are the changes, WB. And all the things that will happen like dark blue skies. I love it that people get victimized. Let's work together for better, we got to unite. Belize, yeah. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Another day is here. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize, wake up, Belize. Voice our opinion and place your calling, WB.
right, welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes on a November the 5th, 2024, and we welcome you to the program this morning. I'm Nuri Mohammed, holding over for our brother Mose Hyde, and we look forward to an exciting conversation this morning, which is sort of normal here at WUB. We go first, of course, to the Met Office to get an update on the weather, which has been inclement, and of course we give you an update on the news from our news center. We go now to Miss Shanae Young.
Mainly fair weather will prevail. Skies will be mostly sunny today and partly cloudy tonight, with showers or thunderstorms being isolated mainly along the coast. In the outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night is for fair weather with only isolated showers or thunderstorms. The winds along the coast and over the open sea will blow from the east and northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be chopping. There will be a low tide at 6:40 this morning, followed by a high tide at 1 p.m. this afternoon, and another low tide at 5:34 this evening. High temperatures this afternoon will peak near 77 degrees Fahrenheit in the Maya Mountains, 88 along the coast, and 92 inland. Tonight's low temperatures will be 66 degrees Fahrenheit in the Maya Mountains, 72 inland, and 77 along the coast. The moon will rise at 9:31 this morning, and the sun will set at 5:19 this evening. In the sargassum forecast, sargassum impacts are expected to remain minimal for the next 2 weeks. In the tropical weather outlook, at 6 a.m. this morning, Tropical Storm Raphael was located near 17.4 north, 78.4 west, or about 130 miles south-southwest of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Raphael was moving to the northwest at 30 miles per hour, with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Elsewhere in the North Atlantic and the Caribbean Sea, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. And this concludes this morning's weather report prepared by the National Meteorological Service.
The first private radio since 1989. Crime FM presents the news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports. And now, the news.
Lotteries Limited, BGLL, has announced a one-time raffle of $1 million for its one-year anniversary in December. BGLL is calling the raffle 1 and a million anniversary jackpot. Tickets went on sale for $5 yesterday at all BGLL sub-agents countrywide. Sales will end on Friday, December 20 at 9 p.m. The drawing is set for Saturday, December 21 at 10 a.m. Buyers are to choose a 4-digit sequence similar to the jackpot. If there is more than one winner, the prize winning will be shared among all winners. The prize must be collected at the BGLL office in Belmopan starting on December 23rd. Tickets will only be valid for 30 days after the drawing date. Government reported in August that after 8 months, it had made $72 million in gross revenue from sales, or a whopping $9 million per month. The estimated annual profit is over $16 million. Shamar Foster, the Sadie Vernon High School student and tour guide who was assaulted during a search by police at the Belize City Municipal Airport in April of 2022, has won his constitutional claim against the police department. He was awarded vindictory damages against the police department. He was awarded vindicatory damages in the sum of $20,000. Additionally, he is to be paid compensation in the sum of $5,000 for the physical violence and humiliation he experienced. At the time, he was accompanying a group of tourists to the islands. The officers became aggressive towards Foster when he questioned why he was being searched. When he took out his cell phone to record the incident, one of the officers violently knocked it out of his hands. The High Court Justice Marta Alexander declared that the search that police conducted on Foster on April 1st, 2022 was in breach of his constitutional rights, as it was disproportionate and excessive. Significantly, she also declared that preventing him from recording the search constituted a breach of his fundamental right to protection of the freedom of expression. Foster was represented by attorney Leslie Mendez. He was also awarded cost. Notably, the judge did not award the remedies sought regarding the work of the Professional Standards Branch, though she admitted that the process may be flawed given that Foster was not notified of progress and did not get called on to be a part of the entire process. She deemed that it is an internal disciplinary mechanism and cannot adjudicate on constitutional breaches. Brigadier General Ariel Loria, commander of the Belize Defense Force, says that he needs body cameras for their patrols in the field to ensure that they have real-time evidence of events that may occur on the ground. Currently, the command of the BDF cannot track the live location of soldiers, but Loria says that they are looking into acquiring the technology that would allow for this to take place.
We are in the process of purchasing those. So up to now, the movements, no. And we are in the process of purchasing our satellite phones with the assistance of the Central Bank of Belize. We're forming a partnership so that we could at least equip the most remote areas, be it Cadenas, Machakila, and Rio Blanco, Saibo Chico, with those type of equipment. So in the event of any emergency, they can communicate. And we are going to get those tracking devices. But we're finding means, and it's not only tracking devices, but we are in the era now that we need body cameras to ensure that if they meet Guatemalans, that we get the precise information back to camp. So that is where we want to go now.
And not edited videos submitted to the High Command.
Sorry?
And not edited videos submitted to the High Command in terms of capturing the interaction with the Guatemalans.
The High Command, we get whatever we get from patrols. If the patrols want to edit the video on the ground, there is very little that we can do about it. But what we want from the body cams is to try to get the information live as possible.
Azria Loria, commander of the Belize Defense Force. And that's our news package for this morning, the 5th day of November 2024. There's another brief coming up at 12 o'clock right after the morning stew, one at 3 o'clock, a full news broadcast at 5:15, all on CRIM Radio. Here on XTV, we bring you the entire news for today at 6 o'clock this evening. It's now 10 minutes to 7 o'clock. We'll take a short break, come back, and open the phone lines for this morning.
Radio in Belize since 1989. The news. Informative, accurate, current information, local, regional, and international news, weather and sports.
right, welcome. This is WUB Wake Up Billy's Morning Vibe. It's a Tuesday morning. I'm not normally here on Tuesday, but I'm taking over for Mose this morning. And we've got an exciting program. Of course, it's always exciting because you are a part of the conversation. Our numbers here is 2805848, and you're welcome to call in and to share whatever area you want to. Maybe we'll hear today from some of our listeners and viewers in the diaspora who are primarily in the United States. We know that we have Belizeans abroad all over the world, but the greatest concentration of Belizeans abroad is in fact in the United States and Canada, and I would say thirdly within the Caribbean. We welcome you to call in this morning and to share your views in regards to this very contentious election that will be taking place in the United States today between the ex-president Donald Trump and the present vice president of the United States, one wanting to return to the White House and the other one wanting to be elevated from her position as the vice president into the presidency. And it's very contentious. I think when you read Facebook, I would say the majority of the sites that I've read are for Mrs. Harris. But there's an interesting group of many don't appear to be reasoning that they like Trump, but they believe that some of the policies of the Democrats, and that's besides the issue of the Gaza and the support that the United States has given to Israel in its continued genocide of those people. There is not a great difference between the Republican approach and the Democrat approach to that very serious human tragedy. But when it comes to their domestic issues, some people feel that while they do not agree with some of the policies of Mr. Trump, that some of the area which they assume that he will champion, they support that. And one of the areas is abortion. You know, the Republican Party and certainly Mr. Trump has taken the position that they are against the way in which the policy of abortion is rolled out in certain states. And there's a very strong religious sentiment in the United States that want to not allow Roe v. Wade to return. Roe v. Wade to return. That is the constitutional protection Supreme Court decision years ago that gave women the right for an abortion. And that has been turned back by a judge that was appointed to that position by Mr. Trump. Welcome, caller. You're the first caller this morning.
Morning, morning.
Morning.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
G. Michael Reed, sir.
Welcome, Mr. Reed.
Yeah, I can hope to find some common ground, or at least.
Well, most of the time you and I dip on common ground is just when you go into those brittle areas that I live in.
There you go, I'm hungry now, because there are two of us in the argument, so maybe you're the one in another seat, so that's all right.
It could be, yeah, I mean, I stand to be observed in that way, but here, you're the first call.
You know, I should draw judgment on that, but I'm certain there are people out there. I'm paying credit, and somebody stopped me in a public the other day, and they didn't knock me. They tell me where the argument is. You know why I'm trying to make you make your point. So, I guess you never know.
Yeah. But they need to know, Mr. Reed, is that you and I have been at this for well over 20 years, not always on the mic. Sometimes we just agree to disagree. So, you know, it's a healthy conversation, and I don't take it personal, and I know you don't.
Well, of course, because a quarrel is one thing, argument is another, and I think argument is noble.
It's healthy. It's healthy.
You have an opportunity to make a point and whatnot, no?
That's right. Yes, sir.
So, but I'm listening to the whole thing with the camera. I don't think it's fair to think that they're voting or not voting based upon that Roe versus Wade. That jury is still out, really between the people.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the courts are concerned, they overturned it, and there's a ban. I have a personal opinion which is not shared by everybody. I don't know if even a majority. But I believe that while a woman's body, yes, is indeed hers, that life upon conception has its own rights and privileges and should not be taken away by anybody, even the one so blessed as to carry to birth.
You don't want to comment on that though, because
of course you wish you may, but I mean I don't know. I hope you take the whole argument because the other things over time. But why, man?
Yeah, well, I agree with that in general principle. I have a strong moral belief that abortion is not something that should happen, but I draw the line when it comes to health. I draw the line when it comes to rape. I draw the line when it comes to incest. And I draw the line when the abortion is done at a very, very early period, first trimester and even before. But I am not for it in terms of economics, in terms of my shape, in terms of me and the man drop out. Now we know they're together again. I have problems with that. But I can see that sometimes, a woman's health is in jeopardy, and so there must be some consideration for that.
But I think that it would be a fool that would not give consideration for just such cases. I just don't think that you can base the policy on those which are less common denominators. They do happen, and yes, if they happen, you should look at them case by case. But to just allow women to just use it use those as justification for other cases, it's kind of tough.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get into the arguments there. You're labeled as being anti-woman, masochist or whatnot. I don't by that argument at all.
Yeah, we agree. I understand. We have to be reasonable. That's not always something that...
No, we're going on to like the American election. I think they stand on the cusp of a very uncertain period. And the funny thing, because the elections sometimes are called quickly and sometimes they're days. I remember one day that they gone up to December 12th before they realized that there's some tense periods between them.
Indeed.
The person was asking me the other day, business goes on as usual, and yes, I'm pretty sure all the offices work, but there's a period, it's not like Belize where everybody laws, the one government get put out and the next court come in. It's not such a wholesale thing, but there are certain policies that creep into being. I hope it's a decisive margin.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way we're going to escape any kind of craziness over there.
I agree with you. I think what I have noticed, because I've been watching it for quite some time, is there was a time when the Democrats had their loyalists, the Republicans the same, and that group that was undecided, as they call them nowadays, or non-committal, was a very small group. The independents, very small group. But what seems to have happened, if I'm reading it correctly, is the Democrats have just about have those who will vote Democrats in their corner, and the same with the Republicans. But there's a large and a growing undecided voters who are swinging back and forth, having a difficulty deciding, primarily I would think because of the effectiveness of the propaganda being used in the campaign, that some people are waking up in the morning thinking Democrat, in the middle of the day they're thinking independent, and in the latter part of the day they're thinking Republican. And so I'm seeing that as perhaps a great factor. Here in Belize, we've talked about these undecided. I remember when Mrs. Palacio did her poll many years ago, perhaps as much as 30 years ago, that there were some percentage of PUP, where one B, PUP till no more, and the same on the red. And there was a small group there that was undecided, not committed voters on either side. And that too has been growing in Belize. So when there is a campaign, some say by early next year, the PUP don't have to worry about the PUP. The UDP have some issues, but there are still some people who just vote UDP because they're voting against PUP. But there's a lot of independent thinking people nowadays, and a strong position has to be put out in order to gain the vote of those persons. That's my thinking on that, comparing it to the U.S.
I was thinking about CSA the other day, and I'm saying it sounds delusional because you were suggesting that we can win. But I'm saying that in politics, stranger things have happened, and I don't know if I'm really fully committed to the idea that by the people and union regardless. Because the people sometimes act and say that anything but you if it gets too bad. I'm hoping we don't get to that point. I'm hoping that people are sensible. I think that 6.9 million fiasco out there in Belmopan should be overturned. It would still make them look good. If it doesn't, you'll be a nail in that coffin, and the more nail you get in, the more tightly it gets sealed. I think we have to be careful with that here in Belize.
What seems to be happening again, G. Mike, if I could jump in, is that if you remember, the previous elections were to a great extent decided by the agitation of the unions. One time it was the BNTU, the National Trade Union Congress did have an influence, but it seems that with this election cycle, the NTUCB is flexing their muscles. And so, the government of the day would be wise in making sure that they're listening and they're observing that sentiment, because that sentiment is not necessarily blue or red. It's a sentiment that's coming from the dissatisfaction of their membership and the kind of feelings where you get generally in the society. And what is different than, and I think you've made this point likewise, what is different today is that the opinions are far more robust with this Facebook, where everybody has an opinion, whether it's a right opinion or not. There are a lot of opinions out there. And so government, I think I am agreeing with you, should not take it for granted that, no, we got this thing, we got this. It's not necessarily so. And it don't necessarily mean that, I win the election, but you may not win by the margins that you have won before, because in some areas you may get a protest vote.
Unfortunately, it doesn't matter in Belize, because once you get in by one, first past the post and you got everything.
That's it, bro.
That's another side.
You remember what they used to say in New York, that an ugly win better than a pretty lose.
Well, listen, anyway, but so the American one now, I think that a lot of people are looking at Trump as a demon, and therefore giving Kamala a bow. I'm saying you need to check what both of them are offering. Yeah. Because when they offer the same place, then immediately at the end of the day, and I was asking a question about a Muslim imam who in Michigan endorsed Trump, and I saw him on the Medi show, and he was asking him, well, why would he do it? Have you seen that story?
Yes, I'm very aware of that story. Yeah, he's quite controversial because he's come out with a huge endorsement, but his endorsement, I think, is motivated primarily by the disappointment that many Muslims have in the way in which the Biden administration has continued its, and Mrs. Harris have basically not changed that policy in regards to its wholesale support of the Netanyahu agenda and the thousands of people that have been killed. And so I read what that imam is saying, is that, the Democrats have to be taught a lesson, so to speak, that you have taken you've taken our vote for granted. But that's not necessarily true, because if you remember, and if you've been paying any attention to that cycle there, that election cycle, the George W. Bush got very, very strong endorsement, especially from those Muslims in Michigan. And so it was assumed that there was a shift from the old days of supporting the Democrats to a move to support the Republicans because of George W. Bush. But that has shifted because of the comments of Trump regarding SHIT countries and banning Muslims and saying certain very provocative statements, many of them taken out of context, but nonetheless very inflammatory statements in regards to Muslims and Islam. And I think for that reason, there has been a sharp move away from that support that many Muslims used to have. But yes, to answer your question, I have seen that Imam in the Michigan area that has come out to declare, but he doesn't have many followers. I think to a large extent, the Muslims have moved not so much to the Democrats as they have moved to the party Green, especially because the vice presidential candidate in the Green Party is an outstanding Muslim. And that has drawn some people. I don't believe, observing the US election, that the Green Party stands a chance. But I believe...
This Imam did endorse Trump, though, publicly.
Yeah. And
I know the party thing, that he was sure.
No, separate. Yeah, man. He has come out for Trump.
I would hope that we get to the point where we look at policies instead. I think Trump indeed is says some creative things, is a buffoon. I would hope that he is not the one that would be leading. Though that is not to say, though, that we cannot look also at Kamala and try to hold her to somebody and common sense demands, man, like stop funding these wars. They extended billions, and she was 3.5 years of that administration and has publicly said that she will continue to balance the policies of Biden.
Yeah.
So I think that is what scares people, really, common sensical people. But then again, looking at what we have as an option, and this where the trickery, the deceit, the conspiracy has been so deep and effective, man. That's all I'm saying. It's a crazy situation. Doesn't mean that I love Trump, because I say, man, let me look from Kamala's bad policies too, man.
Yeah. You know something, G. Mike, and I'm glad that you're discussing it this morning, because even though we don't vote in that election, it's such a large part of our consciousness because of social media, etc. That we
America's cities believes catch a cold.
Yeah, we're very connected, and a lot of the people that cross there, and these immigration policies, in fact, is going to affect Belizean, because he's saying that he's going to use his military to start going even into workplaces and finding people. If you can't show your documents that you are there legally, you're going to
that affects me too.
I tell you, yes, it's very real. It's very real. I mean, you were there in the 60s and the 70s when that was a real fear on the part of Belizeans to be too much in a public because of ICE moving around wanting to check your papers, your social security.
It's a funny thing, when you the party and the dance and the music, the what, somebody had like immigration, every window, man just take off. So I remember those years. Listen, I don't think it gets back to that, because America is built on this labor, man, and I think I just blow hard.
I want to think so, but it was in the third cycle of the last Trump election, one of his big promises, and it's amazing.
People like they didn't do the last term of Trump, they're not going to allow that to happen, because many of these people are friends in the regular populace, and America stands up and be heard when things are wrong. I really think so. I wish they had stand up now that things are wrong on the internet.
I don't think that it's amazing, because, and we have a lot in common with that when it comes to our own immigration issues. Likewise, it's not as as acute as that, but clearly we have our own immigration issues here, which has to be addressed. Particularly,
let them just, come in as they want to.
Well, we got,
some point, the other point.
Yeah, we do need to know that that's going to be one of the issues, But it's good that you bring it up, G. Mike, because there are a lot of our Belizeans, and I would want to hear some Belizeans abroad today to weigh in on this issue. And I agree with you. You said in the earlier.
From what side you did, how you see the whatnot, the fleshy things out there.
I don't want us to do that today, at least in a certain part of the show, that we could get it clear.
Stop it.
All right, my brother. Good. Thank you, G. Mike. Take care. Yeah. All right. So you see, we can have non-argumentative, non-quarrel, I should say. Argument is good, but non-quarrel conversation between G. Mike and us here at WUB. Our number is 280-5848. You're welcome to call in and to weigh in, whether on the election or just our own local politics. Politics is not something that you can discard. Some people think that, well, that's the way of the world, and if we are religious, we ought not to think about politics, and the world is on its way to doom anyway, so I'm okay who win. That is not a sensible thinking. Welcome, Colin.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, morning, my brother.
Yeah, brother, I'm good.
Good.
Very good discussion. G. Mike.
Yeah, like usual. Yes.
I want to big up G. Mike, Guy do great work with them kids.
Yeah, man, yeah. One of
people are going to work with a brother to put in with them kids and things. That's a big help.
Yeah.
See differences like all of us.
Yeah.
But we live together.
Yes, my brother.
Not really hard talk, we quarrel, but we don't go to blow.
Yes.
You walk up and we say, yeah, you got me this one, boy.
Yes.
That's why I live.
Yes.
But I know the situation where they be there and we pay.
Yeah.
And the pay not enough for the brother they talk about.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister could solve that easy. Take the brother pay. Right? You take the him pay. I'll try to live out for you for the month. And you give him your perks and what you to make and you're comfortable brother and live out for what you would get. So when they said you're putting another brother's shoes, I understand where they feel and what lack of what they feel.
Yeah.
But I don't know how the sanitation workers they make it. I don't know how they live, my brother. With the pay where they get. Then people at the hospital again, they are 10 men. They got the teachers with a high cost of living. You really have to give up something serious. You have to put food to a table.
Yeah.
You have to eat out, rob Peter to pay Paul. Will be there. That's because you work.
Well, make I get provocative. Everybody want to raise a pay. Simply because the cost of living and trying to make ends meet is just not enough for the ordinary citizen to make it. We have to separate the people who have. You got some people, Carla, where they don't even know what we talk about. They don't even have an understanding of what it feels like to have to budget in such a way that this one no I get one, this no I get that, this can't get that because this is all where I got to deal with. There are a lot of people in our country, whether you realize it or not, we don't have to do that. And it's a growing among, even though they're the smaller part of our population, you've got some very wealthy people in this country. Very wealthy people. No, the government's responsibility is to try to make sure that some of that wealth can trickle down to ensure that the ordinary person does not starve, or that ordinary person can look up and say, boy, I deal with only $1 this time, but I could say that we move up to $1.50 and maybe $2. I just use those terms to symbolize what I'm saying. But if the man will look at what he's receiving, and no matter how far down you look, you can be the same thing, that is the frustration where I felt that BDF officer and many others. And he also made the comparison that the commissioner of police take better care of his officers than does the brigadier general take care of his soldiers. And that's important to recognize those two, because the police do have a better salary range, even though it's low comparison to other jurisdictions where policemen make more money. The fact is that they make more money than our soldiers. Now, can you say that, oh well, they got more work to do? The soldiers don't have that much work to do. And so therefore we can afford to keep paying soldiers at where we pay them. But the soldier is also saying they have to go out and now try find security jobs and do late night jobs, etc., in order for them to make ends meet. He say he can't even buy one bicycle for his son or daughter coming up this Christmas. So it's not in Belize that we're starving and we're in our bread line to try to get food, but it's the cost of living to live at the level that we feel everybody else look like they can try, not the rich, but just moving up. I mean, I start as $1, but I could see how to move up to $1.50. I could see how to move up to $2. But if you look down the road and you can't see your situation to change, that's the problem that our government has to address.
And that's what I'm saying. Leadership play a big role, because you have to understand the man at the bottom. You guys get at the top, but the man at the bottom, that we got you where they took. You have to look out for the brothers.
Indeed.
And the brigadier general should look out for you.
Indeed.
To the soldiers there. You have to stand up. You are leadership, you know them whether they go through.
Yeah.
You know when you ask them to go to perform. So they are performing a mental state, not there.
Yeah.
When they take break, you know, people's mental state play a big role when you perform.
Especially in a security, my brother. If you're not contented, your security discipline will be loose because you feel aggrieved by the circumstances where they are.
And listen, right, we have to look at the pay scale, because a lot of people make a lot of money when they do nothing at all.
Yes.
One of those people when they do nothing.
Yeah.
And they make it at hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then they do nothing, and they tell us straight up.
Yeah.
Some of them go to work. Then people are the people who have to say, well, you ready to go, we are killing this fat power and put it to the lower people, and the people that get let's pay. It's all not.
But that's a political problem that we face over. Because you remember this thing we call open vote workers.
Yeah.
And when you go back into the history, open vote workers were people who were political clients. People were, I want to vote for you, but I want you to look out for me. And then when you get in now, the man come knocking on your door and say, remember, I may vote for you. In fact, I bring my whole yard to vote for you. You have to give me something. So what that politician does is attach that person onto a ministry. And they call them open vote because they're not part of the public officers. They're just working with the government. And some of them face enough to say, well, minister to take care of me, so I don't really even have to go to work. He to pay me back for my loyalty to him. So you got thousands of people like that. But you also have people who have been trying to get a job for a long time and finally got in as an open vote worker. Everybody who's observing that person see that he's a hard worker, come to work early and leave late and put in work. But they're an open vote worker. That means that they could be fired and given their money and go home at any time and don't have the protection that a normal public officer will have. Usually, when you begin to see that budget of the open vote worker, you could see that government has attached itself, and I'm not talking about PUP or UDP, I'm saying government has attached itself to a behavior or to a system that will always have it running into a deficit because it has to satisfy those clients that promise that I want to vote for you, and now I come to receive my promise. Now, I make one distinction between lazy man and lazy woman. We just get a position, they don't even show up to work, but every week they, every payday, they're there to collect their money, as compared to the one who got the job as an open vote worker, been working there for 5 years, 10 years, and is a very productive person but is not, you know, within the system as a confirmed worker.
And the workers, the workers, they're vulnerable. And when party change, why have to return now?
Exactly.
We bring in the people, so that's a cycle.
Yeah.
But you got the people at the top, them big one at top.
Yeah.
But a serious money, them better to study the grabbing.
Yeah.
Serious money, I kind of perks.
Yeah.
Kind of vehicle allowance, you know, and a big pay, and not even the shop that work.
Yeah, well, you know, that cronies.
Member or then husband or wife or this one.
Yeah.
But then spend money them, brother, you could use to help the one that will really the one that need the money.
Yeah.
Then everything I talk about.
But what you want to do? What you want to do now?
We're not for top class.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that don't need it. Like I see in economic development, the amount of people I see there, my brother, serious. There's a lot of people don't need it, my brother. You need people with proper qualifications. You don't code on it. A qualification. A lot of these people don't have it. They're not going there because, well, no, and they're close to the Prime Minister or whoever.
Yeah.
They don't need it. They don't put out work, stop saying that it's a general office. They need more help to check our balance.
Yeah. You're right, brother.
They are over the place in the real weekend.
Yeah.
You could cut them down.
Yeah.
And get more pay. You could trim the fucker and send it back home. But then I think I had to talk about that. Because they work. Not that any working both workers than they work.
Yeah.
They might go on because they vote to you, but then they work and then they bring food home to their family. I ain't not getting it wrong at all.
Yeah.
And they have to do something.
Yeah.
Why the start that big one at top? Then they code where I want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Name off the top.
Yes.
And they have to be reason people.
They got vehicle and all kind of this allowance and that allowance.
And the trouble
I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, those are the governance things that, you know, every administration says that they will deal with that. You know, they usually put it off. You know, there's an interesting book written by Dr. Dylan Vernon. I've been saying that we are bringing him on here to talk about this idea of clientelism. Clientelism is this idea that you promise your clients, which are your voters, that you're going to take care of them, especially if there was a long period where the other side was in, like 12 years, and your people have been waiting, you know, and some of them have one lead degree, but they have been loyal to your party, and when the government changes, they're there looking to get put in them positions there where the former government they got for them people, you know. And it's a difficult thing, and I'm saying the way that Dylan Vernon brings it out, it's not a Belize problem. He's using St. Lucia, he's using Eastern Caribbean, he's using other places to show you that this is a dilemma that governments end up dealing with satisfying their clients, and some of those clients are not just ordinary people that make basic salary, but in fact they're people who are in very high position, and as you say, many of them never do nothing substantial, but they are friends of the powers that be, and they call them people cronies, and they call them, you know, nepotism and all those kinds of words used to describe them, but they're full up into the system, and they are not productive, or their production is 1 day a week while they're getting paid for everything that they're supposed to be doing, you know?
And another situation, lot of them depend these boats, you got jobs in the economic development, and they all of them boats, they get money again. Man, if you watch the amount of people on the boat, well, you already have jobs.
Yeah.
You know, and they pass 2-3 boats, you know, it's sickening.
Yeah.
It really hurt you when I say those people how they rape this country and they rob we people, the bottom, they take licking every day. When you go in our supermarket and shilling up 50 cents for the thing, but I just buy yesterday, this thing I'm 125, we did at 175. And I say stuff, and nobody there to protect me.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly,
And then the thing they be there when they feel, and the regular workers, they take licks, and they tell them they take the guy out there, you know I out there.
Yeah.
And I they take licks.
Yeah.
And then people they take licks, and they tell you, brother, I don't know joke. Who they look out today? And we, who? Every time I see that people are being paid, and they hire this one up, that top, this one, what then they do? What then they do so? When you get the auditor general office, you know auditor general, and here you can't find money because that's some pay. Yeah, make you check our balance, and help we, because see how the money is spent, and who the cream off at the top. But they don't want to check our balance. They don't want nobody to check you. When you could spend as well and nobody to check you, and free for all with it. So I don't think that, man, it really rough. So just pick up the BDF officer, pick up all the workers, policemen, whoever, coast guard, nurses, doctors, everybody. They work hard out there in this country. And down to the people, the cream off at the top, and just the lay down of stores life, and we detect licks.
Yeah.
Serious, brother. You take care of that.
All right, Brian. Same to you. All right. It's 25 minutes now to 7 o'clock. We've gone a little bit over our time. It's now time for a 2 cent scam with Brick City, and that is sponsored by Fort Point Security. All right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Billy's Morning Vibes. It's the 5th of November. Yes, we got some more days to go with our season of hurricane expectations and tropical storms and tropical depressions and all of these things that go. You know, don't you feel good when you know that we get rain instead of hurricane? It may sound all right for us in these urban areas, but people in the rural areas don't necessarily like one lot of rain because rain bring flood. Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra Corey. I'm calling on two matters.
Yes, welcome.
First of all, it seems that I didn't catch it all. You were discussing salaries in the public sector. Is that correct or not?
It was general salaries, but we were also touching on open vote workers, etc. Yeah.
Oh, well, I would like to comment on the police force.
Okay.
You can't, unfortunately, believe our police force is not adequately compensated. As a consequence, they end up catch and kill.
Catch and kill.
By doing all kinds of little jobs, including being involved by no less than the legal community now in delivering documents to people, the general public and the legal community, delivering documents to people dressed in their uniform, primarily to intimidate people, but thereby criminalizing matters that have nothing to do with criminality whatsoever. And I can speak personally, because that was done to me many, many years ago. I had to take and call in the police station to ascertain exactly who had come. Nobody knew the man. You would have thought he had come from Mars. The member of the legal community was trying to force me to accept a payment that I did not wish to accept. I refused to accept. And the next thing, as I tell you, turned up at my doorstep a policeman. I told him, no, I don't want that at all. I have told that person I don't want that. So please take it away. And of course he identified himself as a policeman. He did not come in uniform. That's the thing. He gave his name as, he gave his rank and all of that and identified himself as a policeman. So when I tried to, so I know it has been done. I can vouch that that has happened because it happened to me on that occasion. So when they are used and they now are trying to make a little money, I am told, I don't know if it's correct, maybe up to $50 they'll be paid to do something like that. That's a substantial amount of money. So we need to pay them properly. So they don't need to then become instruments of criminality themselves. You see? And now, I just heard you say at the end, that's why I see what you're talking about. They may be better paid, you said, than the BDF, I don't know.
Yes.
But I don't think they are that much better paid. I think the commissioner sides for his men, yes, I agree on that. But I don't think they are that much better paid. So you can't be running a society here on scale and half the way we run it in Nuri. So I am in the corner. I don't know about any BDF because I didn't hear the news yesterday, but that's what I heard you talk about, a BDF or something. I don't know what that is about. But if it is about salary, that I understand, then I'm definitely in the corner of the police force, definitely in their corner. My next reason for calling is this, Nuri. Mr. Biden said in the 80s, this is recorded, this is on recording, that if Israel did not exist, the United States of America would have had to create an Israel. You know of that statement that he made?
I remember many years ago, yes.
So, I'm giving you a multiple choice test. Therefore, is an Israel of no importance to the U.S., A. B, of minimal importance, C, of average importance, or D, of maximum importance? Which of them?
It would be D.
Exactly, maximum importance, right?
Yes.
So therefore, what we are witnessing in the Gaza, we are left to conclude is being done with the total agreement, acquiescence, support, etc. of the United States of America. Would we be wrong in concluding that?
Yes, especially if you identify as...
We would be wrong, you said yes.
No, I'm saying that analysis is correct. The reason, but I'm adding that it is the military-industrial complex that decides how America's foreign policy is going to run, and they consistently have seen that that area of Israel and the Middle East is of utmost importance to them, whether it's Biden or other.
But important then, Nuri, is it only the military-industrial complex that's benefiting from that?
Well, I think
that exercise?
I think they primarily benefit because of the amount of arsenal that they use and benefit from. But I also think it is important because that area, as you know, and I don't need to educate you on that, that area is highly volatile, and it has been that way since the creation of the state in 1947. It has all...
Into that area, that entire Middle East, valuable, rich in resources?
Yes, but there are so many other areas, Africa, right here in
but
America.
But that one is important.
It is important. It is critical. It is critical.
Now, how much, the United States, during the pandemic, how much money did it print? I'm going to use that word. Did it invent that didn't exist, has not been earned, has not come through the system by labor of Americans, but that money was needed to keep the populace from rising up in total revolution. How much money was that?
I don't know the figure. 13
trillion of the 17 trillion. At least those are the figures that have been given out. 13 trillion. So that is money now that is at debt. Then they have said that Social Security will be insolvent by 2033 if you go with Trump, and by 2035, 2033 and 2035 if you go with Harris, right?
Yes.
And I think it would be safe we can add on to save that and solve that. I would happily put on another 13 trillion and more. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. But I would want you to explain to our listeners and viewers why is the United States concerned about the insolvency of their Social Security?
Because they won't be able to pay it. They won't be able to pay the benefits. They won't be able to pay all the Belizeans, and including all the Belizeans who, when they reach retirement age, collect Social Security, they won't be able to pay. When the fund goes insolvent, you can't pay out the benefits.
And
that's the problem.
And the millions and millions of Americans that will be affected.
Exactly.
Right.
It's millions now we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's that Social Security. Then it is proposed to build housing. That's going to take a lot more money again. So I think we could happily add on another 13 trillion. And I'm being conservative, so I'm adding on 30. That's 39 trillion. Then we are going to provide home care for the elderly, the sick, right?
Yes.
Well, that would be another, because I don't know if you have taken care of the sick elderly. I have. So a diaper for a baby, a diaper for an 80-year-old, 70-year-old, is like 3 times the diaper for a baby and more, depending on the size, the rotundity, the fatness of the person that you're caring for, right?
Yes, yes.
My father was a slim man, and his diapers were rather large. So was my uncle, and he was small, and a baby, that diaper would wrap a baby over 3 times, that's what I'm saying. So now that diaper, no, you don't need to look at it, the diapers alone are going to cost you money. They're going to cost a lot of money. Then an adult is not a baby. You can hold a baby in your arms and care for that baby, do that. You can't do that with an adult, so you need help. And I'm 5 feet, so you can imagine what would have happened to me. And my dad was not a fat man, he was a slim man, and Daddy must have been about 5'8", 5'9", thereabouts. Needed help. Couldn't do it on my own. I started out on my own when he could stand up in the walker. But as he progressed, I needed help. Costly, very costly.
Yeah. Can I stop you?
I said that she's going to care. What is it?
I wanted to stop you just for a second, because that is one of the arguments that I think many of us have not properly fleshed out as to why there was such a blowback on Obamacare, because Republicans were saying you have not calculated the cost of how much more money will have to be put into the system in order to do that.
Yes,
and as you know,
I didn't know that was a contention. That's a correct statement, no matter who makes it.
Yeah, and in addition, Mrs. Harris is saying that she's going to add to Obamacare by extending it to the elderly, which is what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
And there's also a blowback, and it's not that people don't care about their elderly, but they're looking at this enormous cost.
I'm just pointing out the cost.
Yes.
Then they're going to give child care to parents. All right, that's a long list just right there. You're looking at around 60 trillion. That's being conservative dollars. But at the present value, we're not talking about the value down the road. So where is that money going to come from, Nuri?
Yeah, good question. Good question.
It's not there now. Where do you think it will come from?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good provocative question, really. Where is the money?
Where will it come from?
Well,
there's a place it will come from.
Well, what has been happening is that that government has been printing its money. It has been borrowing money, and it is in a position where it can continue to do that because of its military power. And nobody can collect the debt or force America to pay back what it owes.
We can't collect. So in other words, it's the global south that will pay that bill, right or wrong?
Yes, you're right.
We will pay that bill. And all empires, it happened with Rome, nothing different, it happened with Rome. When you don't willingly give up your resources and your labor and your wealth to them, then they move in the military.
Right.
And crush you into submission to give up your wealth. Isn't that what is happening in Gaza now?
Yes.
They have to eliminate and eradicate the Palestinian population to keep Israel happy as a happy trooper in the enterprise. And not only that, the wealth of Gaza sustained a population of 2 million people plus. Only Gaza. And it's a small strip like from Belize up to Biscayne, about 25 miles.
That's about it.
And the width, not the size of Belize, the other. Small area.
Much smaller, yeah.
And the olive groves, not to mention the area in the West Bank. And they need the water. So Nuri, then remember, the statement was if there wasn't an Israel, we'd have to create one. So Israel is evidently, as we would say, sumamente importante, extremely important to the United States. To the extent it's willing to die for Israel, go on as a live for Israel to survive, because Israel constitutes the enforcer, the bouncer, the doorkeeper to the Middle East and its wealth. It's ancient wealth. It's modern wealth. It constitutes that. And this is what I don't think people understand, that, you see, they had a saying in the days of the British Empire, and the streets of London are paved with gold, and everybody wanted to go there. So everybody who rushes to the United States is going for their piece of the empire, but do they know that? I don't think they know that it's an empire. They know it's great and big and rich, but how it got so rich and how it got so big is another question. And is there a price that you pay for that wealth?
Yes.
There is.
Yeah.
There is a price. So when you examine these two candidates, which one is seeking to limit the empire and which one is seeking to expand the empire? Continue the expansion of the empire. Which one? Nuri?
I'm not sure I can see the distinction or the difference between the two when you study their policy. I think they both support that agenda. It's just using different words to describe their support, but they both support that agenda.
Well, I wanted to say this. Yes, they both have benefited from the empire, right?
Yes.
But one of them understands that maybe the empire needs to be restrained now. Because in the same way that Rome collapsed because the empire became top-heavy, this empire can collapse because it is becoming top-heavy. One of them is committed to the restraint on the empire. No, and the other one isn't.
Which one do you
One
think?
of them is, I won't tell you, you guess that. That's your homework.
All right. Okay.
Bye-bye, you.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you very much, sister. Let's take our next break and we'll be right back. All right, this is a Tuesday version of the WUB, and we are very happy that you're here with us. We've opened up the phone lines since the beginning of the program to allow anyone who wants to call and to make their comments to do so. Our number here is 280-5848. Welcome, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
And I heard what the other caller said just now, and I'm trying to understand the situation.
Okay.
But I'm wondering, what are the people of Israel supposed to do, right? Because on October 7th, while there was relative peace between the people of Gaza and Israel,
There was, did you say relative peace? Did you say there was relative peace?
yes, there wasn't any active war.
Oh my goodness.
And so, but then we saw on the news that the people of Gaza, they got up and they we saw a level of brutality that we haven't seen in modern history, where the people of Gaza went over, invaded, went through the border with Israel, and basically killed many. They didn't attack the military, but they attacked civilians. They attacked old men, old women. They cut open the belly of pregnant women, rip out their children, put the children in the oven, stab pregnant women in the gut. Now, the thing is that any nation, whether it's a superpower or not, any nation, imagine if Guatemala would do that to Belize, regardless of what is happening between Guatemala and Belize right now. Imagine if people from Guatemala would get up and do that to people of Belize. Don't you think that every level-headed Belizean youth would sign up for the military and would do their best to defend the nation? No, the thing is that we could say, okay, some may say Israel has gone too far, right? But the thing is that the official government in the land of Gaza is the organization that is labeled as a terrorist organization, right, Hamas. And so the thing is that if Israel would stop and Hamas still retains power, then Hamas has committed their mandate is that it's not that they want the territory of Israel, but they have said that they want to eradicate Israel from that territory. So, like, Israel is fighting differently from every other nation. Most other nations that fight basically fight for just their territory. But Israel is fighting not only for territory, but it's also fighting for its existence, because they have committed Hamas and they have taught their children, and Hezbollah, they teach their children, they indoctrinate their children from a young age, from in preschool, primary school, that Jews do not deserve to live, that anywhere they find a Jew, that they should kill a Jew. And so, and the Israelis are aware of this. They are starkly aware of it. 6 million of them were killed in the Holocaust. And nobody lifted a finger, no other nation lifted a finger to help them until after so many of them died. So the Jews know this, they know this history. So when they're fighting, they're not only fighting for that little area of land, because remember the land that they have right now is actually smaller than the size of the country of Belize. And they're surrounded by millions of square miles of Arabs who hate them. And so if they don't fight to the very end, they see it, and rightly so, they see it as if though that the Arabs and others who hate them passionately will fight to kill them. And even if they see that, from what I'm seeing, they see that even if they ease up right now, even if they ease up and back off against those who are launching rockets at them, they see that all that will happen is that over time, they will build up armaments again, and it's just a matter of time till they continue doing the same type of atrocities that they did in the past. So it's like they're fighting for their very existence and the existence of their children.
Is this a conversation, or are you just calling to make your statement, or can I engage you in a conversation?
Yes, you can go ahead. It's a conversation.
All right, certainly. I appreciate your call, and even though I disagree with you wholeheartedly, I want to engage you in a conversation rather than just you make a statement and I make a statement. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
All right. I don't know if you know much about the history of that area, but based on the comments that you have made, it's obvious that you have not taken a wide view of what has been happening in that area. First of all, let's deal with numbers. You said that what happened on October the 7th, 2023 was an atrocity that was so terrible and, evil that one should expect that the state of Israel would respond. That's what you did say, right?
Yes, yes.
All right. Do you know the numbers that they have talked about that were killed in that atrocity, as you call it?
A little over 1,200.
About 1,200 people. Are you familiar with what the figures now are being reported of people that have been killed since the response of Israel?
Right. The report from Gaza is around 42,000.
43,000. And you're, if I'm understanding you correct, you're saying that killing of 43,000 persons, according to your figure, which included innocent women, children, older persons, the bombing of hospitals, the bombing of schools, even the bombing of people who are not from Gaza, but they are UN workers, they are humanitarian relief people. They've also been killed in that response. Are you saying that all of that was justified or is justified?
What I'm saying here is that...
No, I think that's more like a yes or no answer. I've given you a chance to explain yourself.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't. But is it a yes? Is it a yes or no? Are you saying that to kill off those persons is justified?
I would say yes, but if you give me the opportunity, I will explain.
Well, no, I'm giving you an opportunity. Now it's my turn to ask you the question. I did not disturb you.
I said my answer was yes. If you want to know why, then you can give me the opportunity.
Then, sir, if you're saying that the killing of innocent men, women, and children, and killing 43,000 people, and as of the news this morning, that continues not only in Israel, not only in the Gaza and the West Bank, but also in Lebanon. You are saying that it is justified for any nation, not just Israel, for any nation to do that to a people. You're saying that is okay?
Let me answer your question. If
it's a yes or no, and then I'll give you a chance. After I've asked you these questions, I will give you a chance to respond to anything I've said. But I'm not going to get into an argument, all right? All right.
Sure.
You've also said that these persons that you refer to as Jews, 6 million of them were killed. Nobody responded. Is that what you said?
Nobody responded until after 6 million were killed.
Well, it's obvious that you did not read the history properly, because the very thing that we call or refer to as World War II tied in the atrocities that were done not only to the Jews, but so many other persons that suffered under the Nazi regime. And so the Nazi regime was brought down because of the atrocities of which they committed. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, after the fact, after 6 million Jews.
So what do you mean after the fact? A justice cause yesterday or tomorrow is always an injustice. It doesn't make any difference. There's a response to the injustice. All right? The next thing you've said is that you have claimed that these people are somehow in a state of war against Arabs that don't like them. Do you know the history of how the Israelis got into the Palestine area starting in 1948? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am familiar.
All right. So you know that the British and Allies moved in forcibly and set up an area for European Jews to go into that area. And over the first 2 or 3 years, they pushed the people who were indigenous to that area into concentration camp. Basically were called refugee camps, but they pushed these people out of the land that was their land in order for those persons to occupy that. That happened in the first 3 or 4 years, and it was known as the Natka, where these persons were in fact slaughtered, moved and pushed out. This was even being forcibly brought into that area under the Balfour Declaration. Are you familiar with that, sir?
Yes, and surely we know human history did not start in 1948.
We're not talking about human history. We're talking about just this atrocity which we call to talk about,
you
to say...
1948, but history started long before 1948.
No, but
so if we're talking about history, we have to go even beyond that.
But yes, certainly, if you want to go in history, it started long before October 7th.
Yes.
All right? So don't put it as though we cannot go beyond. We're looking at the world history in that area.
Right.
And what you're saying to me and what you're saying... I don't want to argue, man. I don't want to argue, because when we get into argument and polemics, you say at least something, I say at least something, and then the people who are listening to us are not hearing the points. I gave you an opportunity without disturbing you to say all you had to say. But everything I say now, you're getting involved in the conversation and throwing off we're going to end up in an argument. I don't want us to get into an argument. You've made your point.
I'm not arguing. I'm trying to respond to your comment. You said you'd have given me an opportunity to explain why I said yes.
But I am not, no, I didn't say that. I said I asked you a yes or no question. Then I will give you an opportunity to respond. But if you're going to take me off into world history, then let's talk about world history.
No, I'm waiting for that opportunity.
All right, very good. So I'm saying on those 3 points there, sir, I don't know how you would come to the conclusion that what the Israelis are doing in slaughtering people and a genocide that has been committed in a way that even the other world governments are now saying this cannot be allowed. The South Africans came up and took the Israelis to court. The ICJ has ruled that there is genocide going on in that area and has said to the Israelis, cease and desist on what you're doing. They've also come forward and saying that the world community at the United Nations with resolutions have got to condemn what's going on in Israel. I understand you to be saying that all of that makes no difference because these terrible people went in there on October the 7th and slaughtered people, took pregnant women and cut their belly open and etc. All the emotions of what you've said justifies their continued move, regardless to what the governments are saying, regardless to the South Africans taking them to court and getting so many others to join with that South African case and finding them guilty at the ICJ of perpetuating genocide. You are saying they are justified in doing that because they come from a life of suffering and 6 million of them died, etc., etc. Right?
Yes, Nuri.
All right. So please continue now, sir.
Okay. So, what I'll say first is that just because the entire world is doing something doesn't mean that it is right, right?
Well, the world, the way that we look at things is, kind of like looking at it in a scale. Looking at it in a scale. If the whole world is looking at something and saying that thing is not correct, we ought not to brush it aside and say, well, the whole world could say it, but it don't make no difference.
Well, I'll use a quick example to illustrate that, and then I will answer my question to why I said yes. Mm-hmm. So right now, the whole world, almost all the nations, including the United Nations, are furiously saying that that basically homosexual marriage is legal and should be legal, and people should have the right. A man should have the right to marry a man, or a woman should have the right to marry a woman. The whole nation is, the whole world is pushing it, so to speak. And even from your religion standpoint, you know that is diabolically wrong. The people of Gaza, the Muslims showed the world oppose that. To the point that even in Gaza and even in the...
Let me stop you for a second because you're going, listen to me, you're going away from the war in the Gaza to begin to... Well, let me say this to you. Do you know that one of the places that the LGBT and men marrying men have no problem is in Israel? That's one of the freest countries when it comes to the practice of what you sung as though you're condemning, which is homosexuality. So are you saying that this country that practices that is free to do what they want? And then now you're using an argument about the whole world? What are you saying?
Give me an opportunity to just answer your question. Only a minute or two I will take.
All right.
So I'm just pointing out to let you know and let you understand and realize that not because the world is in agreement with something means that it is right. No, the thing is that we say that, okay, 12,000 people were killed in Israel, 1,200 people were killed when the people of Gaza invaded Israel, when they were at relative peace. And you're comparing that to the 42,000 or so that were reported killed by the people of Gaza. No,
it was killed by the Israelis, sir. Not by the people of Gaza.
Military, yes.
Yeah.
No. The thing is that we have a peculiar situation there.
Wow.
We have the same fighters who took hostages and still have the hostages held, by the way. Those same fighters who took the hostages from Israel and committed the atrocities in Israel, they go back into Gaza. And they don't go on the battlefield, they don't go in the open plain, but they go and they set up their bases in the basement of hospital. They set up their basement in apartment buildings.
Where do you get that information, sir?
That's on international news. We see it.
Which international news are you referring to? Because I monitor the international news. I know that the Israeli military says that the reason why we're bombing hospitals is because of what these people are doing, but that has not been substantiated by other than the Israeli military. So if you're giving me the propaganda of the Israeli military justifying... Where, sir? Where? Cite it, please. Please, cite it. No. Look at who you're going to. Al Jazeera? No, man. Come on, sir.
But all reputable news, CNN, all of them report...
I have not seen... I've seen where the Israelis, in order to justify what they're doing, is saying the reason why we're with the bomb hospital, that because the terrible, evil Hamas got set up the camp under the hospital.
And that is just what they do.
But how do you know you're speaking so factually about something that has not been justified except by the Israeli military?
Okay, if you would text me your WhatsApp number, I would send you YouTube videos from...
Oh man, stop it, my brother. I'll give you my WhatsApp number, and then what we'll do is I will exchange information with you. You will exchange it with me. But I don't want you to come back when I share information with you and still justify that the information you're getting is more accurate than mine. Please don't do that. All right? And I can tell you that what you're saying is completely unjustified for you to be killing innocent men, women, and children. Do you know that in the Geneva Convention, you are not to kill children? Do you know that in the Geneva Convention, you are not to kill non-combatants, people who are not to fight? Do you know that you're not supposed to? And the Israeli military is doing that, and you sound as though you're agreeing with that.
But Nuri, you said you'd give me a chance to answer.
I did give you a chance. I am responding to what you're saying. Now we're having a conversation now. I've listened to you, you've listened to me. Now we're having a conversation.
Okay, so imagine this scenario, right? Right here in Belize. Imagine this scenario in Belize. Imagine that the George Street gang, and the George Street gang, they notice the George Street gang call themselves Gaza. They identify with what has been happening in Gaza, such that they identify themselves as
It's
Gaza.
not the George Street gang that identifies themselves as Gaza, sir. Please.
Yes, it is them. But I tell you something, right? The George Street gang that identifies themselves as Gaza is no more noble than the terrorist organization that is in the Gaza. But the point that I'm making is this: imagine that the George Street gang, right, would send out some gang members to shoot to shoot up the police station, for example, in Belize, right? And then they run back into their neighborhood and they go into homes across the neighborhood where there are children and women and innocent people. And the gang members take up their Uzis, the machine gun, and when the GSU responds, or the the GSG responds to them in that neighborhood. They're all hidden in homes that are occupied by civilians. They're hiding basically under the flocktail of women. Now, and not only that, while they're hiding, they're shooting from those locations as well to the police who are trying to arrest them. Now, the police has a choice, right? Either the police remain their ground and allow these gang members to continue to shoot at the society, run away from the society in those homes where there are innocent women and children, or the police would have to respond. It's a difficult decision for the police. So to protect the rest of the society, right, from these criminals who are shooting these rocket-propelled grenades and so on from behind the flocktail of women, to protect the rest of the society, the police would have to make a tough decision and respond to them. And in doing so, there will be collateral damage. It's not Israel to blame. It's not Israel to blame. Because when they went back,
I think I understand that argument that you're making. No, but it's a sir, I understand that argument, but I don't want you to go on and on and on and on. Let me respond to that because we do have breaks to take here. Okay, Number one, you're going like apples and oranges here. This is ridiculous what you're saying, that the Gaza would run under the flocktail and be shooting, please man, and be shooting at the police. While the police here in Belize, but you're arguing with me, man. No, man. Caller, I am going to put you under the category of a disruptive caller, because what you're doing now is you're trying to create argument rather than presenting something and let me respond to it. Then I present something and you respond to it. Now I'm responding to what I consider a ridiculous argument that some kind of Gaza in a Belize city shoot up the police, and then when the police come in with the GSU or whoever and kill innocent men, women, and children in the attempt to get to these so-called Gaza, that you would say that Belizeans would say, yeah, right, boy, I didn't kill about 52 people there. They may catch them people, but they don't catch them, they gone in our next hole, but about 52 people dead over here on George Street. You are saying that Belizeans in their right mind would have said, yeah, all right, if we kill them people there, yeah, my granny get killed there too, you know, or my little nephew get killed there, but yeah, all right, because we look for the evil Gaza people. You are ridiculous if that's what you think you could bring to Belize, my brother. And that does not even work, because the UN, which is watching what is going on now, would have justified the Israeli behavior by saying, man, look at, they know they really kill them people, you know, then they try to find them, man, where they hide in a hole. They did not say that at the United Nations. They have not even said that at the United States. And none of the European countries have tried to use that justification. That is an Israeli justification that they have been using long before October 7th. Every time they go in to that area, they say, oh, we're shooting these kids here because these kids are members of Hamas. They don't find nothing but piece of slingshot or stone and things like that, yet they're using heavy-duty weapons to massacre people. And you're trying to justify that? Come on, man, come on.
But Nuri, have you seen the images of the tunnels that they have found?
I have been observing this since 20. Listen to me, I'm answering you. I have been observing this for over 20. Sir, I've been observing. Come on now. We're not going to get into this. You to get into Ali Hanasi business, my brother. If you got a good argument, wait until I'm finished. I'm waiting until you finish. But what you to do, you to nitpick into this thing to create a scenario. And I don't know if that's your objective today, to say, make I just call and throw all kind of nonsense out there and make us say how Nuri will respond.
All right, you go ahead and I will respond again.
All right then, I only got 1 more minute, but we'll continue with this because we've been doing it now for about 7 or 8 minutes. I'm saying to you the arguments that you're using, sir, to suggest that even if we agree on a number of civilians that were killed on October the 7th, I'll use an argument that was recently presented by a gentleman named Dr. Finkelstein. Dr. Finkelstein said, and maybe you will hear this and agree with it, or maybe you will reject it. He said that if a woman lived with a man who abused him consistently, beat her up, deprived her of what she needed, etc., 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 to the point where this was a battered woman. And one day, the woman takes a knife and stabs the man. And as a result of stabbing the man goes to the authorities and say, look what she did to me. She just stabbed me up several times here. And the authorities say, oh, what a mean thing for her to do. Let us arrest her and lock her down. Now we understand that the legal people might have said, yes, look at these stab wounds that this person has. And in fact, if you cause the stab wounds, in fact, you should pay for that. But if you don't look at the bigger picture of how much abuse she had been taking for years, she and her children being abused by this individual, and finally could not take it anymore and launched out with whatever she had available to her to stop him from doing it, and then you arrest her and put her in jail? Something seems skewed. It's the same thing we're talking about here. For years on top of years on top of years, 75 to be exact, sir, the Israelis have had control over that area. I don't care how many times you said that Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the others have taken their violence against the Israeli. It is nothing in compared to what has happened on the other side, sir. It is nothing compared to, you talk about the small strip of the Gaza. Do you know that Gaza has been destroyed in such a way that it will require billions and billions of dollars to try to reconstruct what has been destroyed in that war? You are saying that all of that is justified and the continuation of that is justified. I give you 30 seconds to rebound whatever you want to say, sir, and then we'll have to close off because I have
Okay, it took about 3 minutes. You give me 30
No,
seconds.
no, I'll give you 3 minutes. I gave you a lot of time. I'll ask you to make your response very short, and if you like, you could call back after we finish the break, all right? Go ahead and make your response.
Okay, sure, Nuri. So the thing is that the history goes back way back. It goes back even to the time of Abraham.
Oh my God!
And we know that all the prophets, Moses, Isaac, Jacob, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, all the 12 disciples, we know that even Jesus, all of them were Jews, and they lived in that area over 2,000 years ago. So it's not that they moved to the area recently, but God warned them that if they sinned and they rebelled against God, he would remove them from that area and scatter them throughout the world. We see that they were scattered throughout the world, but God told them in Jeremiah chapter 32, verse 37, I will surely gather them from all nations where I banished them in my furious anger and great wrath. I will bring them back to this place and let them live in safety. We see now that there is a regathering of the Jews. It's not by accident. It's not by accident that this nation that just formed back together in this century has what is the largest and most extensive military in the world.
I am going to ask you to continue that, to call back. I asked you to give it 30 seconds, and then you call back. And I want you, when you call back, I want you to answer this question.
The Jews were
I want you to answer this question, because I look like you called to be disruptive this morning, and I'm sensing that you're not really calling here to have a decent argument. You calling here to give us religious propaganda to justify that though God says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, though God says in the commandment, thou shalt not kill, you're throwing all of that out and saying that these people are justifying in killing up to 50,000 people. Justified, even though it's not an eye for an eye. Even though thou shalt not kill, you're saying they're justified in doing that because God to tell me, you're all right, even if you have to kill old man, old woman, children, women, pregnant women. You talk about pregnant women, man, you don't know the facts, you don't know the reality. Anyway, you can call back. I would love to have a conversation, but don't bring religious propaganda. Let us have a conversation. We'll take the break.
Chris, un repartidor que se prepara para comenzar su jornada laboral. Necesita indicaciones para llegar a su próximo.
All right, welcome back. This is WUB, Wake Up Belize Morning Vibes. And I don't mind having conversation. I mean, that's why we are here in the mornings. And you can come from any direction that you will. But we try to avoid propaganda. We try to avoid getting into religious arguments, especially when we start quoting this and quoting that. We like to stay with the facts that is in front of us. If we're going to have a religious conversation, let's tell the audience out of respect, this is a religious opinion that's being passed. But when you try to bring that into the argument and, throw people off, then it becomes muddied water. The last caller, you made certain points, but I think you were intentionally calling here and you wanted to muddy the water a little bit, and that is not really what we want to do. We want to have open conversation and dialogue. We're expecting another caller, and all right, we have another caller. Welcome, caller.
Good morning, Nuri. This is Sandra Curry again, because it seems that I called in to discuss American geopolitics and history and so on, and brought in Israel, because Israel is a very significant issue right now with Gaza, and generated this gentleman's call. Yeah. But my interest is in education, so and of the Belizean people and of the world in general, whoever may be listening. In the Black Plague, during the Black Plague, when the Black Death affected Europe, which was the Great Plague, that was between 1348 is when it reached the United Kingdom, Europe. That's the year more or less given. And the plague would come in some 3 to 4 waves. And at that point, during that horror, the blame was put on the Jews for having caused the plague. They had nothing to do with the plague. And as a consequence, the Christian European population turned on the Jews. And their solution was to burn them in the quarters where they were literally set fire and burn them to death. And some Jewish communities, rather than wait for them to come and burn them, they set fire to them. They self-immolated. They set fire to themselves and burned to death. Only a very few I only know of one, but maybe there were more, Jewish communities resisted, fought against the terrible injustice being done to them. So that is only one example I gave of the horror story that Christianity visited upon the Jews. The tale is long. Now, Christianity was not always the religion of Europe or of the Roman Empire. It was made the religion of the Roman Empire because the people who had converted to Christianity eventually withdrew from the Roman workforce. And that withdrawal would have caused the collapse of the Roman Empire. They went underground, literally underground into the catacombs, which are the caves under Rome. They populated almost the entire catacomb structure in order to...
Yeah. I don't know. It must have been credit. I don't know. Try again, Ms. Coy. I don't know for what reason you got cut off, but welcome again.
I'm back again.
All right,
I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yes, so Christianity Christian Europe bears the entire responsibility for the persecution of Jews that culminated in the Nazi persecution. Let's take Spain. When Columbus sailed for Spain, at the same time the Spaniards expelled all Muslims and all Jews. You know who took in the Jews? Muslim Turkey.
Right.
Took in the Jews. Mm-hmm. So the Jews have lived throughout the period of their dispersal out of ancient Judea after the Roman attack in AD 70. They dispersed throughout the Mediterranean, throughout a world that they were not Muslim at that time, but they were not Jewish either. They weren't following the Jewish faith. And then they would disperse into Europe. So Christian Europe bears that responsibility, whether they want to admit it, accept it or not. Now come to the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, because of the same continued, constant little signs of persecution that never stopped. There arose a movement in Europe, Zionism, which then made a definite plan move towards getting a homeland for Jews. Now, I don't know if your listeners know that at Passover, historically for 2,000 years, the Jews would end next year in Jerusalem. Is that right or wrong?
That's correct. That was a dream.
That was always. So they never forgot their past and where they had come from. At the beginning of the 20th century, when the move is starting, Jews continued Jewish presence in Palestine, what became Palestine, because Palestine is a Roman name, never ended. But it was a small pocket, 5% of the population, thereabouts. Right. Under the Ottoman Empire, under all the empires that ruled over Palestine, the Jewish presence continued. And the amount of land they owned was about equal, a small percentage, 5% of the land. So now Jews from Europe start to come in and start to buy up land. And you had a lot of absentee owners in the Palestine. They were in Beirut and what's the name?
Jordan.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah.
Gallivanting. And they were willing to sell their lands. Then comes, at the end of the first decade of the 20th century, the British were expanding into Egypt. They were beginning their Middle Eastern expansion. And as a matter of fact, Nuri, there is written in the annals of the House of Parliament a debate between the Foreign Minister, Lord Balfour, who would become, and a member of Parliament, the member of Parliament demanding an explanation for British expansion into Egypt. And he asked the question, I am paraphrasing it. So are we going there because we are superior, we think we are superior to them, or what? And Balfour's answer was no, it's not superiority, because we know the Middle East. We know Egypt. We know, notice the word he uses, we know their greatness. We know how great they have been in the past. Yes, they're in a decline now, but we know what they have been. So Britain began its expansion. Now comes the First World War, and in the aftermath of the First World War, the Ottoman Empire is dismantled and shared up among the great powers. Great Britain was given the mandate over what we call Palestine. It was a document. You can look it up on the internet.
Yes.
Nowhere in that document do they tell you that Britain has the authority to give that land to anybody else but the people who live there. Because that document stated that Great Britain's responsibility was to move them to independence as quickly as possible because they were capable of being an independent state in 1923. That's what they were told in the mandate. But the British didn't do that. Lord Balfour writes a letter to Lord Baron de Rothschild, one of the great member of the great Jewish banking families, offering Palestine as a resettlement place for the Jews. Offering it, you know, completely at variance with the document under which Great Britain had authority over Palestine. And Lord Rothschild accepted. And immediately the movement, a mass movement would begin of Jews prior to the Nazis now. The Nazis were beginning to rise, but they had not yet achieved the power they would achieve in the 30s. And they are beginning to move, and as they move in, the Palestinians are realizing, but wait a minute, where are these people coming from?
Yeah.
And right or wrong, Nuri, from that very moment, the Palestinians were opposing, resisting that what began as a population invasion. That's what it started as.
Yes.
Throughout the 30s, continued.
What happened? Because of our time constraints, there's one thing that is very clear here. You are laying out the historical facts.
Yes,
of the geopolitical move in this area. But what is being done, and the caller before you was doing this, he was tying this into a revelation. He was tying it into biblical ideas that this move into the Palestine is somehow divinely moved. So Balfour and what happened in England and what happened to the movement of these dispersed people into that area is not taken into consideration. What is taken into consideration, according to him, is that this is a divine move of these people back into their home.
His opinion is not unique, remember that.
No, of course not. But I'm juxtaposing the two.
And I want to say, the caller and others should check one of the great American media houses who went out and did an analysis themselves, Jews, went and analyzed those figures and the claims made against Hamas and found that no baby had been put into an oven.
Exactly.
No baby's stomach had been... This is not Caucasian or African or Indian. These are Jews who dominate the media world in the United States, went out to investigate the truth of the statement.
Yes.
But I quickly just want to finish, Nuri.
Yeah.
So now comes Hitler. And Hitler, because of the economic crisis in Germany, did what many rulers always do. Look for somebody whose money they can get. And to get the money, you have to kill the person. So to get Jewish wealth, they had to kill the Jews, get rid of them to hold the wealth. And that is what they did. And as a consequence of that, the Jews realized that they needed a place where they could be safe. And at the same time that they are being marched into concentration camps, let's take the ghetto in Warsaw. When the Germans moved into the Warsaw ghetto, they found only middle-aged, old people, and young children mostly. Those people had sent all their young blood to Israel. Well, not Israel, to what is now to Palestine, to help them to escape. And when they got there, what did those Jews do? They fought as anybody fights when their back is against the wall and their very existence is served. They fought a brutal, cruel war for control of that land against the people who were occupying that land, the Palestinians, as we know them now. Brutal. Yeah. And they made a claim, and continue to make a claim, that they found a land without people, that Israel was a land without people for a people without land, which is an outright lie.
Big lie. Big lie.
I advise your listeners to try and find Ben-Gurion's letter to his son, where the son is objecting to the partition plan brought together at the end of the 30s, and Ben-Gurion has decided to go along with it. And the son says, but Father, that's not, we want all of, he said, don't worry, we will start with this. One day we will get all. That was at the beginning of the 40s.
Yeah, yeah.
I want your listeners to go and find who organized the vote for the partition plan. Why did Latin America, who brought in the Latin American vote? Go and find that, because that is recorded.
Yeah.
Who brought in that vote? Rome brought in that vote. The Pope brought in that vote. So when they went in 1947 to Flushing, New York to vote on partition, that was a managed vote. And only 50-odd nations voted for that. Not the amount of people who presently occupy the UN voted for that. Not them.
Yeah.
And as a consequence of that vote in 47, when the Israelis would then extract, they were given 50, around 52% of the land, and the Palestinians were given around 48, yet the Palestinians had a bigger population than the Jewish population at that time.
Right.
1948, when the Arabs moved in to support their Palestinian brothers and were rebuffed by the Israelis, they would then control 70-odd% of the land, and the Palestinians were left with 22% of the land, for a bigger population than was the Israeli population. So if we are going to discuss this matter, then let's discuss it with facts.
And facts.
Let's discuss it sanely and soberly.
Yeah.
Because only that way beliefs can make its little contribution. I know we can make a contribution, but we can only make a contribution if we arrive on with the facts and with a commitment to sanity and sober judgment.
Yeah.
You can't have anything else but that. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sister. All right. We'll, it's a very important topic, extremely important that we examine this topic and in fact, as she says, deal with it with facts, because it's a very emotionally based argument for many people who want to justify what's going on over there. But when you look at the facts, there's no way that you can justify this. We'll take our final break and come back and close off. we've come to the end of exciting WUB. I'm telling you, this is almost the equivalent of a university class. And, you know, the majority of our population are young people. And so we need to speak to young people who are gathering information so that they can have a level of intelligence. The intelligentsia of Belize is what we have to depend on, because we're a small population and our power is not in our numbers, but it is in our intellect. But our intellect must be based on facts and truth. I appreciate Sister Sandra calling back and reminding me that in fact these bunkers and tunnels that is being said and justified by the Israelis were in fact tunnels that were built by the British. It is the British that made all these underground caves as a part of their military strategy to move from one area to the other. So it wasn't Hamas that built these tunnels, that was British that built those tunnels. But those tunnels still exist. And we need to understand, this is not a just war. If it was a just war, the entire world will be on the side of Israel. But the Israelis recognize that outside of the United States, and not even England anymore, certainly Ireland and Spain, France, and many of these countries have come out to condemn the Israeli action in that area. So the only real power strength is coming from the United States. And the United States, in this pivotal election, will decide if they're going to continue that support at the same level that they have been continuing. Many people believe they will do exactly whether or not it is Harris or whether it's Trump. They will maintain that, for, as our sister said, that's a very important enterprise in this area that the United States uses as a leverage to keep control in that region. Much more to discuss. Perhaps tomorrow the phone lines can be opened and we can continue the conversation at that time. But right now we have to go. You've already used 10 minutes over our time, and we want to thank the host of Morning Stew for being patient with us. But let us thank those in the background. We have Larry Guerrero downstairs in simulcast. Upstairs today in the MCO position was our sister Christy Flowers, and of course Mr. Clifton Lewis, who is the man that keeps everything together here. So Belizeans, stand strong. This is the time that you must be firm. You must be clear. You must be reasonable. You must do the right thing. For now, we're gone!
Wake up, Belize. 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 Another day is here. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. We gotta keep moving, na 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 na. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize. Everybody gotta put the time in. Wake up, Belize. Wake up, Belize.